the longest expansion in history, 10 plus years. So this is the longest expansion we've ever been involved in. But it's not a huge expansion. The cumulative expansion is actually less than 50% than many of the others. Why is that? If you have a really long expansion, but it's really anemic, right? We've had very, very low growth this entire time. This is what the 10-year growth looks like. Coming out of a deep recession before this one, you'd see 2.5% along there. That'd be where people bounce, where the bar would bounce. Here we've seen, 0.5 or return to 0.5 very often, 1.5. We saw a nice spike after the tax cuts in 2018, but we're right back down to normal. And if we think long term, 2% GDP is going to be, that's all we can expect, given our demographics, given our working population, given our productivity increases, given immigration, given birth rates. 2% that's going to be awesome going forward. So the idea that we're going to push it to 3 or 4 is a total fantasy. Not going to happen. So the economy might be slowing. Many of you probably saw this in May, that the unemployment or the new employment number of 75,000 came in, and there was a huge uproar. Oh my goodness! And that actually caused a couple of days of negative data in markets. But in June, it came in at 225 again. Manufacturing has been weak. Globally, it's been weak. Why would that be?
Tariffs.
But what is it about tariffs that makes manufacturing go down? Is it because trade stops? Okay. It's largely because, what's that? Things cost more, but so if you have tariffs, or if you have an expectation of tariffs, or if you have a curiosity that maybe tariffs may be coming and you don't know, and you're a company, do you invest in plant and equipment? No, you don't. You wait. You sit on your hands. You wait until you know what's going to happen, and then you invest. So when you look at GDP, that element, that corporate investment, is anemic. It's doing very poorly, because why would you invest? If you're a CEO, you're not going to invest. CEOs aren't going to invest. The consumer is doing really, really well, but that investment part's very, very, very hard. So slower economic growth is happening. This part's important right here. Quit rates are level. In 2009, 2010, nobody quit their job. There were no quits, because if you quit, you weren't sure you could get another job. Today, quits are actually really, really high. And this data is very well recorded. So people are quitting their jobs and finding another job. Like we saw on that first slide, 65% of people think that today's a pretty good time to get a good job. This is our trade partners, the value and the percentage of our trade they make up. So you can kind of see there's 3 really big trading partners: Mexico, Canada, and China. What Trump is doing versus China is something it's been coming. So Trump is not the president we deserved. They're the president that China deserved, right? Because he's beating them up, and they've been winning in this whole global. They have been winning in this whole global trade. We've been very generous with our trading partners, and what he's saying is we need to have more of that gain for us. We need to have more of the gain. We have these deals in trade. We're going to carve off some more of that for us, and that's probably a good idea with China, especially with China. Do I like the way he's doing it? No. Someone has to do something. Everyone else has tried and done really poorly. I'm not saying this is going to work. Who knows? It probably fails too. But it's interesting to think of it as Trump is the president that China deserved. So how do tariffs, we talked about this a little bit, $414 per household is the general cost of these things. If we go to a 25% for everything trade war with China, it's going to cost $831 per household. Now, did anybody, those of you who get the quarterly commentary, did you guys read the letter that was in the quarterly? Okay. So something very important in that quarterly letter that I hope you caught, and that's Foxconn, the manufacturer for most Apple products, have been begging Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, to move their manufacturing facilities out of China. Foxconn has manufacturing, they're a Taiwanese company. They have manufacturing facilities in China, in Taiwan, in Michigan, they're building them. So I don't know what the discussion is, where those manufacturing facilities might go, but Foxconn has facilities all over the planet. And so to say we should move our supply chain out of China doesn't necessarily lead to that means prices are going to go skyrocketing. It means companies have to figure out a way to source their goods and materials in a more efficient way. Companies will always compete on price. We as consumers will always benefit from companies competing on price. And we're going to talk a little bit about that competing on price in a second. Going all the way to the full bar, world GDP is affected by about 0.4, what is that, 0.4.5% if all these tariffs go into effect. So when the global growth rate is 2.5, that's still a big hit, but it doesn't turn us into a global recession. Right? So if those tariffs that have been discussed and not implemented are implemented, we might get there. But there's many steps between here and there. And we talked about this in the office. I think, and I'm now going to put this on the internet, which means I'm going to be bugged from here in the future. I think Trump is sandbagging. Isn't it, tell me if I'm wrong, isn't it true that there hasn't been a sitting president that's lost an election where the economy is doing really well? Is that true? It's true. So how do you, let's say we resolve this whole issue miraculously 9 months before the election. Markets go up, you know, there's yay jobs, everyone's spending on stuff, all kinds of announcements come out, it's a 9-month media cycle. I hope not, but it seems like it's a very distinct possibility. That's what's happening. It's a big, ugly national or international debacle to get reelected. Most economists think there's going to be a deal because the downside is worse. I think that he knows this, he's just waiting for the right moment. So this is more discussion of the stuff we already talked about, like the fourth quarter. Look at that confidence number, up. January, it hit its low. Markets start to recover, confidence starts to pick up. You know, June, markets are killing it again, so confidence is back up again. This is the psychology following markets.